Hey there, and welcome to Session 1. I'm so glad you picked up this book and have decided to give this study a try. I'm going to ask you to do some hard things during these next 6 sessions, and I need you to be able to set a safe environment wherever you are and really listen to each other. I hope that by now you've read the introduction chapter and have set some really good ground rules for your group. With that said, let's get into this. I heard someone say one time that there are big T traumas and little T traumas. That stuck hard with me when I heard it because I had always thought to myself that I hadn't really had trauma in my life. Not the really big kind anyway, but then I heard that and realized that sometimes, even if something seems really small, it can stick with us for a really long time. I know we are diving in hard and fast here with this first study. If you've read the book, you were ready for this. If not, you're probably like, whoa, Renee, slow down a little bit. Can't we just talk about our first pets or something? I'm really sorry. We jump in fast because honestly, there's no time to waste. The sooner we can define what's holding us back from a deeper relationship with Christ, the better. I don't want you to be at the end of your life wishing you had tried something different and done life differently. The sooner we seek Jesus and let him guide our lives, the more time we have to share the gospel with others. So what's that trauma for you? When I was a kid, we used to live on a few acres of land. The house was built on kind of like the side of a hill. So we had this basement, but half of the basement was like protruding out the side of the hill where we had a door. Well, that door was less than perfect at doing its job. Doors are supposed to keep things out that you want out and keep things in that you want in, right? Well, one summer day, I was, maybe like 9 or 10 years old. And I hear my older sister screams. And I mean, scream. She was freaking out. I remember running to where she was in the house and asking her, what is going on? She proceeds to point to a shoebox on the ground with his little tail like sticking out. She had managed to capture a snake under a shoebox in our laundry room. She's frantically screaming and trying to figure out her next move. She looks at me and she says, Renee, watch the snake. I'll be right back. I just stood there, mouth open, eyes wide, stick with one end in my hand and the other placed firmly on the shoebox to hold it in place. My sister runs upstairs and she comes back with a steak knife, where she then cuts the tail off the snake and says, there, it's dead. I don't know if you know anything about snakes or not, but it didn't die. It just continued to wiggle around and we continued to scream. The door didn't do its job. The door in our basement was supposed to keep things out, but it didn't. It was defective. It had a hole. The snake came in, and to be honest, we aren't completely sure how long it had been there. And over the next few weeks, we continued to have snakes in our basement. And this is where I also slept, on the floor, because when I was a kid, I was jumping on my bed and I broke my bed. And so my parents made me sleep on the floor, but I digress. It took us a while to find the hole. I don't remember all the details because I was pretty young, but I do remember the snakes. I remember being really scared at night because I thought a snake was going to come bite me or curl up in my bed with me. Okay, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because I think sometimes this is what happens to us with that little T trauma. The things that aren't really like big. This is what happens. We didn't know they were there. They were so small, so insignificant. We had no idea they had been in our minds and in our emotions this whole time. But they have been. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to trust me. I know people hate doing this, but if you are all doing it together, it'll be easier. This is where we start to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So close your eyes. I'm serious. Close them. Don't fall asleep. Now take a deep breath in and a deep exhale. Imagine a time when you were little. Any memory works, literally anything. Just keep your eyes closed. Try to pinpoint why that memory came to mind. What is so significant about it? What are you feeling around this memory? Are you happy? Are you sad? Mad? Disappointed? scared, or are you joyful? Now, silently to yourself with your eyes closed, ask God to help you think of a memory that has caused you little t trauma. Just something small that you didn't know was there. Something that has shaped the way you respond to certain situations now as an adult. Okay, open your eyes. Those snakes in my house have caused me to be fearful. In this week's homework, you'll read other little t traumas that I had and big T traumas that have caused me to react to things or act a certain way. We all have these things in our lives. The point here is that you need to find the snake in the house. You need to be able to identify what's hurt you so you can put a name to it and work through it. I don't know what your little or your big T trauma is. I don't know if you struggled with your weight because someone one time told you you're a fat girl or a fat guy. I don't know if you struggle with porn because someone sexually abused you. I don't know if you keep spending money you don't have because your parents showed you and proved to you that material items are more important than the relationships we have. I don't know what someone said to you or did to you that is causing you to respond to certain situations the way that you are. But here's the really cool thing about all of this, though, is that God knows. He knows, and He was there and is there for you to work through all of it, big T and little t trauma. Absolutely nothing is too much for God to handle. And knowing this, really knowing this is so important because then you'll get to see the true love of God. He's not hateful. He is not vindictive. He's not a God that focuses on your past. He's a God of forgiveness and love. He's a God of mercy and a God of compassion. He wants to show you His love. But sometimes we let our own traumas determine how we view God, and we can't do that. God is not the father who hurt you. He is not the father who abused you. He's not the friend who called you a clown or called you fat. He is none of those. He's a loving father. Hebrews 4:15 in the Message version, it's 4:13 through 16, I think, says, "Now that we know what we have, Jesus is great high priest with ready access to God, let's not let it slip through our fingers. We don't have a priest who is out of touch with our reality. He's been through weakness and testing, experienced it all but the sin. So let's walk right up to Him and get what He is so ready to give to us. Take the mercy, accept the help." Right before this video, you were supposed to read Ephesians 1 and 2 and discuss it. In Ephesians, we read about Paul. This was written while Paul was in prison and was meant as an encouragement to those who believed in Christ, but yet were facing persecution and trials. It's honestly kind of ironic that Paul is writing on this topic during imprisonment. If you know the story of Paul, you know that he was Saul and persecuted Christians. He literally held cloaks for men while they threw stones at Christians. This guy was bad news. But then one day, on the road to Damascus to persecute more Christians, the Lord spoke to him and told him to stop persecuting His people. Long story short, Saul obeyed, decided to start following Jesus, got his name changed to Paul, and bam, here we are in Ephesians. I skipped a lot there, so maybe do some research if you want to know more. But basically, Paul, writing from prison as a Christian, when he used to put Christians in prison is the irony of all ironies, which I think is what makes this so special. Paul has been through shipwreck, imprisonment, persecution, another imprisonment, and more, and he is still chugging along and spreading the truth of the gospel of Christ. He's not worried about being alone because he knows he's not. Not only does he have the people in the church of Ephesus, but he knows he has God on his side. He's not concerned about the loneliness prison has brought. He's leaning into Jesus, knowing that he is not alone. So my question to you, are you leaning into Jesus for your traumas, for your hurts, for your pains, for your disappointments, all of it? Are you seeking Jesus to help you work through moments that may be holding you back from a deeper relationship with Him? Remember, this isn't on you to be better or do better. Ephesians 2:8-10 tells us that we don't have to work for God's love and grace and mercy. We get it because of the gift of Jesus. With that in mind, I hope this week you take the time to figure out what your big and little t traumas are and take them to God. He's willing and able to be there for you. You just have to let him in.